Okay, so when I was reading Matthew Lewin's stuff, uh, well, actually, I was listening last night. He sent me a MP3 recording of him doing his latest channeling session for this new electricity topic by extraterrestrials, and it sounded just exactly like listening to the Urantia teaching mission folks. I mean, there's a video I've seen of Daniel Raphael. He's like one of the main channels for Lon Joronson in the Urantia teaching mission. And so it's very apparently an exact replica of the type of channeling. So it's this conscious trance channeling where the channel doesn't go into any kind of deep trance. He still remains conscious through the process. And but nevertheless, some of these guys really seem to be very adept at getting completely out of the way with the conscious mind and acting as a fairly pure channel for the information. Now, as an aside, keep in mind that there are limitations to this process, and it seems to be pretty much across the board with all types of mediumship and things, that the concepts held by the subconscious mind of the channel, of the medium, those are the limitations. They form like this vocabulary, this conceptual vocabulary, which the entity trying to get a message through has to work with. They have to work within the frame of this. So I think that explains a lot. It explains why you will find a lot of similarity. Like Leslie Flint comes to mind. He's one of these direct voice channels. And a lot of recordings of his are online. I've talked about them before. And you'll get the voice that's apparently a good facsimile of the entity that's communicating, their manner of speaking and things. But still, it seems like the conceptual vocabulary is limited to whatever the medium was capable of. So it seems like more ideal mediums are those who are well read. They have a fairly expansive exposure to various intellectual topics across a wide range of fields. Kind of ideal humanist type men, or the well-rounded academician that was the ideal of the university liberal arts education or whatever from when was that, 1700s? I can't remember who all the individuals were that had this ideal as a Renaissance man. But so I think that's why even perhaps some of those limitations exist. It seems they do for the deep trance channels. So I think that's why someone like Paul Solomon, who just by virtue of the type of person he was, and he seemed like a fairly intelligent, on-the-ball individual and was more well-versed in a lot of these technologies and things than someone like Edgar Cayce or even perhaps Douglas Cottrell or Ross Peterson. Although, yeah, Ross Peterson seemed to have been around the block a few times, and one of the things that perhaps made him a terrific channel. But so that does seem to hold now, and perhaps that makes me wonder about Matthew Lewin, what his background is, because he seems to have been selected, perhaps among others, but selected to be a channel for more of this technical information, among other things. This isn't the only thing he does. He's currently channeling stuff from his spirit team that has to do with coming earth change. It's just all kinds of topics. But I'm just talking about this series that's currently being transmitted about the new electricity. So the type of device they're trying to get him to build, if you are into electrical engineering and stuff, you'll probably be able to identify what this technology is right away. I've had kind of a scant education in those types of things, just in passing when I did take college level physics and stuff like that. But so what they were describing, and you can consult the readings in more detail, but in a nutshell, they're telling him to build this lead box, basically a lead tube, a square lead tube. So it's a box with open ends that's about the size of a coffin or something, like 2 meters long by like, I don't know, a meter wide, a meter tall, something like that. And lined with lead. And then inside of that you have a coil of, like a helix, I think, of copper wire. And just that basic apparatus apparently is supposed to be positioned along one of the ley lines, so one of these magnetic flux lines of the Earth. So apparently the Earth is some kind of dynamo or some kind of generator of a magnetic field that modulates in some way. It's not just static. It has some type of motion, whether it's I'm not sure about what the parameters would be, but apparently there's some type of change in the magnetic field of the Earth that exists wherein you can put a copper coil along one of these ley lines, which would be a focal point of magnetic flux, so you would have more, apparently, magnetic energy at those points. So you can position it correctly, position it in the right direction to be aligned correctly, so it's got to be the right place, the correct orientation, and when you get it right, apparently it will start to generate a very low-level direct current. And that, in turn, can be amplified. And then they started to talk about the amplifier, which was a laser, which was, to me, really fascinating. And they talked about the lasing medium, the type of crystal to be used, and how this apparatus would, I guess, pump the laser or something, or give it, usually a laser pump is another laser, so I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I know it can be done. One of the main properties of crystals is that they can convert pressure to electricity and stuff. That's one of the things they use for piezo acoustic pickups and stuff. And so perhaps somehow, if you're into laser design and electronics, you probably know, but you can use this low-level direct current to interact with this laser, or somehow there's some kind of resonance, whether it has to do with pulses matching up to the cavity size of the resonating chamber in your lasing medium. I don't know, but somehow the laser will be used to amplify this energy, and so maybe collect and amplify it or something. And then what they're talking about, so the basic idea is you have this coil generating direct current, a laser used as an amplifier, and then the laser gets shined into some photovoltaic cell to reconvert the light energy back into electricity. Now, interestingly, this sounds a lot like the Paul Solomon and Edgar Cayce descriptions of this ancient human civilization that had this type of technology that a lot of people call Atlantis. And interestingly, a lot of the technology sounds very similar. They talked about this crystal and the fact that it sounded like a laser, like an infrared laser or something. And apparently they used the laser directly for a lot of things, for like healing purposes, therapeutic purposes, for powering craft remotely and things, or I'm not sure what all. But apparently, since our usage of energy is kind of centered around the flow of electricity through wires and things, well, they're telling us how to basically take the output of this laser and convert it back into electricity that we can use. And the beauty, apparently, of this kind of system is that it's infinitely scalable. You can have as many of these things aligned along a ley line as you want, and there are ley lines all over the world. There are crossing lines of magnetic flux, and I've seen supposed maps of these kinds of things in alternative science circles. I'm not sure how valid they all are, but the point is, I think it's pretty much well known that whatever you want to call them, there are these magnetic field lines around that kind of loop around the Earth, and this is apparently what they're talking about. So the position of these lines can be found, they can be detected. You can put as many of these types of devices there as you want. You can scale them up, make them bigger, use more of them, whatever. And the idea is they take this energy that's being generated just by the dynamics of the Earth-Sun system, and we just tap into it. So it's kind of like tapping into solar energy, but apparently something that's more reliable and can be scaled up more and used to generate more power for more people. And it's a source of green energy, infinitely replenishable. Nothing is destroyed or consumed in its making. Pretty incredible if it actually bears out. And apparently the Spirit team is working with Matthew Lewin, telling him how to build these devices. So definitely feel free to check that stuff out. And it's thenewgoldenera.co.uk, I believe.